This Torah class is brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.
Agitmayit, everyone. I want to share with you, the Vilna Gaon was very much connected to the Yom Tov of Sukkot. Of course, one of the most fundamental ideas that is connected to the Yom Tov of Sukkot is the idea that the Vilna Gaon teaches us in Shir HaShirim that we're not commemorating the miracle of Ananei HaKavod, we're commemorating the return of the Ananei HaKavod. But the Vilna Gaon in general has so much beautiful Torah about the Yom Tov of Sukkot, and he has a special connection to the Yom Tov of Sukkot. One time on the Yom Tov of Sukkot, the Vilna Gaon was exceptionally happy. It was the third day of Sukkot, and his father and mother asked him, Tatala, why are you so happy? He said, of course I'm so happy. I was just visited by Yaakov Avinu himself, and he gave me a kiss on his Ushpizin. Of course I'm happy on the Yom Tov of Sukkot. We know that the Yom Tov, that the Vilna Gaon's yahrzeit is Sukkot. In fact, the Minhag HaGaon was to hold on to Luvan Esrog Kol Hayom Kuloi. The same way he wore tefillin the entire day. The Vilna Gaon held on to his Luvan Esrog the entire day. In fact, the Gaon was nifter, holding on to the Lulav and Esrog. The Vilna Gaon returned his holy neshama to Shamayim, holding on to the Daled Minim. And interestingly, Chazal tell us about Avraham Avinu, that Avraham Avinu was Mekayim Kol HaTorah Kula, Ekev Asher Shama Avraham Mekoili. But of all the mitzvahs, says the Medrash, Avraham Avinu was Mekayim. The Medrash says specifically he was Mekayim the mitzvah of Sukkah. The Medrash says, Vashem Berach es Avraham Ba'koil. Says the Medrash, Ba'koil is the Sukkah. So they asked the Vilna Gaon, where is there a remez in the word Ba'koil that Avraham Avinu was Mekayim the mitzvah of Sukkah? The Gaon said very pashut. Of course he was Mekayim the mitzvah of Sukkah. Ba'koil, Ba, Sukkah Teishu Shivas Yamim. Kaf, Kol ha'ezrach v'Yisrael Yeshu Ba'Sukkah. Lamed, L'man yedu da'roisechem ki ba'sukkos hashavtis b'nei Yisrael b'ha'itziya oisa me'eretz Mitzrayim. Ba'koil ba'sukkos teishvu kol ha'ezrach v'Yisrael l'man yedu da'roisechem. There's a very interesting question, and the question is, it says that Avraham Avinu, he was Mekayim the mitzvah of Sukkah. How was Avraham Mekayim the mitzvah of Sukkah? If you look in Masechta Sofrim in Parak Chaf Aleph, the Masechta Sofrim says an amazing little tidbit. The Masechta Sofrim says in Parak Chaf Aleph, Halacha tests, that how tall was Avraham Avinu? Avraham Avinu was the height of 74 people. Avraham Avinu was the height of 74 people. Now, if Avraham Avinu was the height of 74 people, that means he's taller than 20 amos. And we paskin, not like Rabbi Yehuda, we paskin that a sukkah that's above 20 amos is psula. Frek the Avnei Nezer, quoted in the Sefer Kovetz Hamoyadim, brought in the Sefer Sukkah Hayotzrim. Frek the Avnei Nezer, how could Avraham Avinu have been Mekayim the mitzvah of Sukkah, but he's 74 people tall? 74 people tall, that means he's Lamala Me'es Ramama. Says Avnei Nezer Bishlam, according to Rabbi, that the reason why a sukkah above 20 amos is psula is because the loishalta ba'ena, you can't see it. Well, if you're 74 people tall, then maybe for a giant like Avraham Avinu, he was able to see it. In fact, the Gemara, the Masechta Sofrim Darshans, how do we know that Avraham Avinu was so tall? It says, Ha'adam hagadol ba'anakim, that's a reference to Avraham Avinu. So Bishlam, according to Rabbi, that it's like shalta ba'ena, but for a giant, it is shalta ba'ena. However, correct the Avnei Nezer, according to the Shita of Rava, that the reason why Sukkah L'mala Me'esim is psula is because it's a diras keva. So then how was Avraham Avinu able to sit in the Sukkah? So the Avnei Nezer answers with an incredible lumdus. Remember, we learned on Sunday mornings, Masechta Sukkah Be'iyun, there's a sugya on Daf Daled, the sugya of Itztaba. The Gemara says that Hoysa Gavaya Me'as Ramama, if you have a sukkah taller than 20 amos, Ubana ba Itztaba Keneged Doifin Ha'emsai, and you build a platform opposite the middle wall, so then the sukkah is kosher. Meaning, here's the scenario. You have a sukkah, let's say 100 amos tall. So it's psula, but if you build on the inside a platform so that the interior airspace on that platform is, let's say, 19 amos tall, so the platform is 81 amos tall, let's say, then since the interior of that platform is only 19 amos tall, the sukkah is keshera. The sukkah is keshera. Even though from the outside it's 100 amos tall, but the interior airspace is only 19 amos tall, so the sukkah is keshera. Comes Rashi, and Rashi says a chidush. Now obviously this itztaba, this platform on the inside, has to be a shiur of hechsher sukkah, so 7 tvachim by 7 tvachim. Says Rashi a chidush. What about the part of the sukkah that doesn't have the platform? Says Rashi a chidush that once the area on the platform is kshera, the area outside of the itztaba is kshera. Says Rashi, how do we know? We have a raya from the case of psal. What's the case of psal? If you have a kosher sukkah with schach extending beyond the walls of the sukkah, then even though the area, in other words, let's say you have a kosher sukkah, it has 4 walls with schach, and the schach extend beyond the sukkah, the area under the extension of the schach is also kosher, even though that area does not have 4 walls. Why? Migu, since the area inside the walls is kosher, so we imagine as if the walls extend beyond the enclosure of the sukkah, and therefore it sort of encloses the extension of the schach. Migu, that the interior of the sukkah is kshera, so too the exterior of the sukkah is kshera as well. Well, says Rashi a chidush, likewise in the case of this itztaba, the platform, since the area on the platform is kosher, the area beyond the itztaba is also kosher. The reason is, it's a lumdus of psal. Just like in the case of the psal, the extension of the schach, we view the walls as if they extend, so too in the case of itztaba, we view the platform as if it extends throughout the sukkah. Says the Avnei Nezer, the sukkah of Avraham Avinu must have made use of the lumdus of itztaba. It was a sukkah, let's say, 100 amos tall, and it had a platform 7 tvachim by 7 tvachim, and on that platform maybe Avraham Avinu's family ate. But once that area is kshera, the area beyond the itztaba is also kshera, according to Shitas Rashi and Masechta Sukkah and Daf Daled, who brings a raya from the lumdus of psal. The lumdus of psal is found in Masechta Sukkah and Daf Yotes, and just like by psal, the area outside of the sukkah is kshera, so too says Rashi, the area outside of the itztaba is kshera as well. And therefore Avraham Avinu must have made use of this lumdus of the Gemara in Sukkah and Daf Daled. Very interestingly, the Medrash tells us that when the Malachim came to the house of Avraham Avinu, the Malachim came on Pesach. This is the Medrash that Rashi quotes. But Tosfos in the Masechta Rosh Hashanah, on Daf Yud Aleph, according to the way the Pnei Yeshua reads Tosfos, Tosfos says the Malachim came on Sukkah. If that's the case, ask Reb Chaim Kanievsky, but how could the sukkah have been kshera? But it was v'hishanu tachas ha'etz. A tree is not a kosher sukkah. Says Reb Chaim, it must have been an eitz talosh. It must have been a tree that was disattached, and therefore it was no longer attached to the ground, and it was a kosher sukkah. Ask Reb Chaim, but in that case, why was Avraham Avinu sitting Pesach ha'oyel? He should have been inside the sukkah. The answer is, says Reb Chaim, it was a very hot day. Mitzdayer is pater min sukkah. What was very interesting to me is the fact that the Masechta Sofrim says that Avraham Avinu was 74 people tall. There must be a reason, there must be a significance why Chazal say that Avraham Avinu was 74 people tall. Perhaps we could suggest that we know Midas Hadin is a numerical value of 86. Elokim Aleph Lamed Hey, then a Yud and a Mem is 86. However, the Arizal tells us that how are we mamtik the dinim? How do we sweeten the din? We use the oisiyos hakoidmos, the letters before Elokim. What comes before Elokim? Before Aleph is an Aleph. You can't get before an Aleph. Before a Lamed is a Chaf. Before a Hey is a Daled. Before a Yud is a Tes. Before a final Mem is a regular Mem. Aleph, Chaf, Daled, Tes, Mem. The numerical value of the oisiyos koidmos of Midas Hadin is Aleph, Chaf, Daled, Tes, Mem. 74! 74 is the height of Avraham Avinu. Avraham Avinu was Midas HaChesed. Midas HaChesed, he was mamtik the dinim. He sweetened the dinim. He sweetened Midas Hadin. That's why Avraham Avinu was 74 people tall. The Sukkah, we have, say Chazal, in the merit that Avraham brought the Orchim Tachas Ha'etz, we were Zoicha, says the Medrash, Ta'anani HaKavod, we were Zoicha to the mitzvah of Sukkah, in the merit of Avraham. Avraham is the number 74, Ham Takas Hadinim. When we sit in the Sukkah, Tachas Tzila D'Mehemanusa, that's Midas Habitachon. Midas Habitachon is 74, says Arizal. Bitchu Bashem Adei Ad. Ad is 74. And the Zchus of Avraham Avinu. And the Zchus of Avraham Avinu's Midas HaChesed. He was mamtik the dinim. In his merit, we're zoicha to Anani HaKavod. We're zoicha to the Sukkah. And we're zoicha to sweeten the dinim of the Yamim Noraim. Yam Noraim is Midas Hadin. Yom Tif of Sukkis is Hamtakas Hadinim. Begeder Smoiloi Tachas L'Roishi. Viminoi Techabakeni. We're mamtik the dinim in the Sukkah through the Kayach of Avraham Avinu, who is 74 people tall. Aleph, Chaf, Dalet, Tes, Mem. We should all be zoicha to have a sweet year, a year of Midas Habitachon, a year of Bitchu B'Hashem Adeyad. I wish everyone a good Moyed.
You've just experienced another Torah class brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.